Oh god, I hope they like me. Does my bum look big in these tights? Who am I wrestling again? Christ, those lights look bright. I think I'm gonna be sick. These are a few of the thoughts that are likely to go through the head of a WWE superstar just before they make their televised debut. The moment they've dreamed of since they were kids and worked for since they were old enough to afford a gym membership and a decent spray tan, the WWE debut is a seminal moment in a superstar's career. No matter what happens after that, at least they can say that they have made it to the big dance. As we pointed out in a previous video, WWE debuts don't always go according to plan, and a bad debut can put a wrestler up against it before they've even had a chance to figure out which veteran's hand they need to shake first when they get to the back. Thankfully, most WWE debuts do go off without a hitch, even if some are unremarkable. Indeed, some of the biggest wrestling stars in history had their first match or made their first on-camera appearance in a way that would be completely forgettable had they not turned into who they did. The following 10 WWE debuts are, all things considered, the 10 best in history, although, for the sake of saving myself from a roasting in the comments, I will just add that honorary mentions must go to Brock Lesnar, Big Show, The Undertaker, The Radicals, Goldberg, Eric Bischoff, Finn Balor, and, well, loads of other guys and girls who also had cracking debuts. There are so many WWE superstars. On with the show, I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic.com, and these are the 10 best WWE debuts. Join us. Number 10, AJ Styles. On January 4th, 2016, AJ Styles lost to Shinsuke Nakamura in the semi-main event of New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom 10 in the Tokyo Dome. His last contracted match for the company, speculation was rife as to where the phenomenal one would eventually end up. Was it a brief hiatus in order to negotiate a new and improved deal? Was he coming home to TNA? Or did he fancy his chances on the flourishing independent circuit? Turns out, none of the above, because Styles was WWE bound, popping up as entrant number 3 in the 2016 Royal Rumble. A genuine surprise, AJ's arrival caught everyone off guard, including, it turns out, the WWE production folks who almost missed his big entrance. Pillocks. The unfamiliar music and puzzled look on the face of Roman Reigns gave way to a rapturous ovation once the fans in Orlando figured out who it was. A surreal moment that many fans perhaps believed would never happen, AJ looked at ease in the Rumble, lasting about half an hour, second only to Dean Ambrose, and netting a couple of eliminations before being ejected by Kevin Owens. One hell of a way to announce yourself as a future player, AJ went from strength to strength throughout the year, winning his first WWE title just 8 months later. Number 9, Tazz. According to the native of the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, his WWE debut match with Kurt Angle at the 2000 Royal Rumble was both the greatest and worst moment of his career. The former ECW's appearance had been hyped in the weeks prior, although not exactly. Snippets of Tazz's voice would play randomly during Raw and SmackDown, and his logo would flash up on the Titantron, but never was it said that he would be debuting when and how he did. A surprise moment for the only Olympic gold medalist in WWE history, the human suplex machine was given a hell of a reception as he made his entrance in Madison Square Garden. Allaying any fears that the crowd might not know who he was, Tazz then went and had a short but handy match with Angle, choking him out in just a few minutes, much to the delight of the New York audience. However, what Tazz didn't know was that the commentary team would speculate about whether or not the Tazz mission finish was an illegal hold, thus questioning the legitimacy of the victory. Also, a German suplex that nearly went horribly wrong apparently freaked out Vince McMahon backstage, which might have been one of the reasons that the Orange and Black Attack's WWE run peaked on the first night. Number 8, Paige. Very few superstars win major titles in their debut matches. That is something that a performer is built up for over weeks, months, or even years. One of the main benefits of NXT is that it already builds up talent and makes them familiar to the wider WWE audience, so that when they do show up on WWE television, most fans at least have a clue as to who they are. This is especially true if the live crowd happen to be the one from the post-WrestleMania Raw, which is who the first NXT Women's Champion Paige had the pleasure of debuting in front of. The night after WrestleMania 30, Paige came out to interrupt Divas champion AJ Lee, who was cutting a promo celebrating her victory at the Showcase of the Immortals. Things quickly got tense, as they are bound to do in a WWE ring, and before you knew it, AJ had slapped Paige in the face. The Norwich native must have felt as though she was back outside of a fish and chip shop at the end of a big Friday night out, and a challenge was made for a match right there and right now. Though initially on the defensive, it took just over a minute for the Diva of Tomorrow to hit her finish and become the new champion, scoring the pin to a huge ovation. The look of genuine happiness on her face was priceless. Number 7, Sting. Up until late 2014, the one big holdout from the old days of WCW was Sting. Everyone else, from Goldberg and Booker T to Rey Mysterio and Scott Steiner, and even previous mortal enemy Eric Bischoff, had found their way to Vince McMahon's promotion, and with every passing year that he re-signed with TNA, it looked less and less likely that we would ever see the icon grace a WWE ring. All of that changed, however, at the end of the 2014 Survivor Series, when the Stinger showed up to sort out Triple H, blasting him with a Scorpion Death Drop, and helping Dolph Ziggler win the match by placing him over a prone Seth Rollins. It was shocking, it was unexpected, and it presented the legend as a big deal right from the off. The crowd, who obviously knew who he was, went appropriately ape. Such a well-handled debut gave some fans hope that Sting would be allowed to look competitive and perhaps even defeat the game in their grudge match at WrestleMania, Sting's first as a WWE contracted performer. And all I can say to those fans is, ha 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 ha, you absolute mugs. Because even though your first WWE appearance may have racked up 25 million views on YouTube, Mr. Borden, we won the war 14 years ago, and don't you ever f***ing forget it. Number 6, The Shield. Debuting 3 unknowns in the main event of a major pay-per-view to attack one of your hottest upcoming stars is what some would consider a bit of a risk. A ballsy move that could have gone either way, the decision to introduce Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns, 3 of the hottest prospects from developmental territory NXT, in the CM Punk, John Cena, and Ryback triple threat WWE title match at the 2012 Survivor Series was a shrewd one. Running into the ring dressed like a SWAT team, the Hounds of Justice interjected themselves into the match and took out the big guy, pasting him with stiff punches and kicks before blasting him through the announce table with a triple powerbomb. The run-in allowed the best in the world to walk out of the match still champion, as the men who would come to be known as the Shield beat a hasty retreat through the crowd. Leaving with a lot of questions unanswered, the debut of Rollins, Reigns, and Ambrose got the WWE Universe talking, or tweeting anyway, as they searched for information on the handsome henchman and tried to find ties to the WWE champ. A great beginning for 3 men who would help carry the load for the foreseeable future. Number 5, John Cena. Considering how Big Match John has been booked over the last 2 decades, if you didn't know better, you may assume that his debut consisted of beating The Rock, Hulk Hogan, and The Undertaker in a 4-way elimination match for the WWE title, before having a beer bash with Steve Austin and hitting an FU on Mr. McMahon as Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair appeared on the stage and bowed to their new hero. He may have been WWE's franchise player for the best part of 15 years, but Cena actually had humble beginnings, making his debut on the international stage as a clean-cut rookie who wore generic tights and boots and just wanted to prove how much ruthless aggression he had. Answering Kurt Angle's open challenge on the June 27, 2002 episode of SmackDown, the future Doctor of Thugonomics smacked the wrestling machine in the face and then managed to take him to the limit in a competitive match. Though he ultimately lost the bout, Cena looked great and the crowd reacted favorably to him. Having tested and almost beaten one of WWE's top stars, he was viewed as an instant player. A post-match endorsement from The Undertaker further solidified his position as one to watch, and despite it taking a few years and character changes and tweaks to get there, sooner than later he was on Angle's level for realsies. Number 4, Kevin Owens. From making a debut against an established legend to using his superstar status to help make a debuting superstar in his first night, Cena did a big favor for the then NXT champion Kevin Owens. Coming out to answer John Cena's US title open challenge on the May 18, 2015 episode of Raw, the prizefighter sauntered to the ring and held his own during a battle of words, and then declined the opportunity to fight Cena before cheap-shotting him and laying him out with a pop-up powerbomb as the crowd chanted, "Fight Owens, fight." Standing tall against the man who had been the poster boy for the company, the NXT leader looked his equal, and it whet the appetite for future matches between the pair. And fans did not have to wait long, as 13 days later, the first Cena-Owens match went down at Elimination Chamber, marking Owens' first televised match in a WWE ring. Another dream moment, Owens took it to Cena in a long and competitive match, showcasing his abilities ably before actually going on to win the match clean as a whistle in what was a major upset. Call it an extended debut. From the initial confrontation to the epic match, the announcing of Kevin Owens is unmatched in the modern era. Number 3, the Nexus. Hey look, it's John Cena helping to make some more guys from NXT. Although this wasn't NXT as we know and love it, this was the game show version of NXT, with rookies such as independent wrestling veteran Daniel Bryan being paired with pros such as former reality TV star with 4 years of experience, The Miz, and asked to do productive things like carry a keg or try to smash a piñata. Probably sick and tired of being made a mockery of, the contestants decided to take it out on two of WWE's finest, interfering in Cena's main event match with CM Punk on the June 7th, 2010 Raw, and proceeding to wipe out everyone from the two men in the match to Luke Gallows, the referee, announcers, security, and famously Justin Roberts. It was a savage and prolonged beatdown by the group of relative unknowns and played out perfectly, with everyone taking their time to get their shot in at Cena while they dismantled the ring and made their exit as WWE medical personnel arrived on the scene. Instantly, the NXT members, to be henceforth known as Nexus, were the biggest threat in the company, and a summer-long us versus them storyline was set up. Since I can't be bothered to go and check the outcome of that series, I'm going to go ahead and assume that it went just great for the boys in black and yellow. Number 2, Chris Jericho. One of wrestling's worst kept secrets in the summer of 1999 was the fact that Chris Jericho had left WCW and was on his way to WWE. In the weeks leading up to his debut, a clock counting down to the so-called new millennium appeared on WWE programming. It didn't run out at midnight on December 31st, that would make too much sense, but rather as The Rock was cutting a promo on Big Show at the end of the August 7th episode of Raw. After a little hoopla and a pause to tease the audience, Y2J appeared on stage, his back to a Chicago crowd that was certainly happy to see him. Welcoming everyone to Raw is Jericho, the Ayatollah of rock and roller introduced himself with a dynamite promo proclaiming that he was coming to save the show and take it into a new era. Obviously, the People's Champion wasn't going to let somebody get away with interrupting him, and the mockery commenced. He might not have been offered the chance to retort, but Jericho had made a statement, and there are worse ways to mark your first day on the job than sharing the spotlight with the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. Jericho was now in WWE, and things would never, ever be the same again. Number 1, Kane. The best WWE debut ever has gotta be That's gotta be Kane! That's gotta be Kane! The impending arrival of Kane had been foretold by Paul Bearer, Kane's daddy and former manager of The Undertaker. The tale goes that Kane was the long-lost half-brother of the dead man, with Bearer claiming that Taker had murdered his family by setting fire to their house/funeral home, only for Kane to survive and bear the physical and mental scars of the traumatic incident. Don't you just love the light entertainment and escape that pro wrestling provides? Kane's coming was teased for months, and nobody knew just when or where the big burned bastard was going to show up. Well, what better place than at the end of a WWE pay-per-view main event, eh? Kane revealed himself by coming to the ring during the first ever Hell in a Cell match between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels at Bad Blood 1997, ripping the door off its hinges and planting Taker with his own tombstone piledriver, allowing HBK to retain the WWE title. The execution here was impeccable, as everything from the entrance music to the surprise pyro and the performances of the Brothers of Destruction themselves worked perfectly to help make Kane into a superstar the very first time we saw him. And no, a 9-year-old Adam Pacitti didn't wet the bed that night. You did.